Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. My name is Jed. How are you all going? We are nailing down dialectics of our own. Now, we had a special surprise from our author and Socrates last time. In a puzzle. We had a puzzle. We were nailing down for ourselves, thumbs up, the dialectic of whether or not a God that is in conflict can exist, the Abrahamic God, whether or not the devil or Satan can exist. And before we moved on to the third dialectic in the text, whether or not a battle between them can exist, or the Armageddon that the believers who are in control of our society, our military industrial complex, our governments, those people are seeking to bring forth the destruction of our species and planet. So finally God comes back to finally put an end to the problems that we face. Before we moved on to that dialectic about the war, we discovered there was a puzzle. Socrates was adding a few extra little things into the dialogue that didn't seem to fit until we noticed something standing out. Now, noticing something that stands out as not fitting is part of the dialectic. Now, when we talk to somebody about their problems, or as we've been recognizing with Jesus, when he starts to say things that don't really fit, or pulls something out of left field, or uses a particular idiosyncratic language, like a word that's maybe peculiar to him, then that can be a clue about a problem that he's carrying, because he's carrying these beliefs in with him. The same thing applies to dream analysis. You might notice something that stands out as not fitting within the dream, within the drama of the dream. That can be a clue. It's worth taking note of. Something like that happened in this text here. Something stood out as not fitting. Socrates has been asking the questions all the way through the book, and here is a rare moment where he gave an answer. Now, he has been answering questions in a way all the way through the book, in the sense that after explaining the true nature of the gods, a personification or metaphor of the principles that outline our soul's development through the physical world, the realm of mind or the intellect or being, and through that, with Hermes in our back pocket or Hermes on our party, using the dialectic to go through intelligence to reach the self. So all of those, that journey, the forces involved in that journey, the principles and axioms required for that journey to exist, the causes and preconditions, all of those things can be represented with figures, personalities. That's mythology. Notice it's based on a fundamental principle of likeness. Apollo is like the reading we do here. Aphrodite is like the meaning and beauty that inspires us when we put the pieces of the text together. Hermes is like the dialectic, in that he has magic flying shoes that races him all the way to Zeus, to our goal. So it's an expression of analogy. So, for example, so in the text, when we outlined this earlier in the text, thumbs up again, lots of thumbs up. Put my hands underneath my arms. Socrates did give a demonstration. So Jesus asked, "What? Can you give me an example of how philosophers relate to the gods?" And then he gave a demonstration of what he defined. You need both. Definition and demonstration are both needed. Do we need this there? But this kind of answer was different. This wasn't an example or a demonstration of what he defined, or a division exploring the divisions of the different ways in which that functioning can be expressed. So this wasn't like that. It was a new kind of answer. It was a one-line answer to Jesus's block. So in coming to a conclusion in this final dialectics, well, series of final dialectic things at the end of the book, Jesus threw out a counterattack. Some people call it a thought-defeating cliche, but what it really is a counterattack. Or, what we have been learning, a kind of interpretation. Interpretation is when we add our own beliefs that we are carrying, or we are blocked from accepting what's there to be seen. So it's to add what isn't there or to leave out what is. That's interpretation. That's the functioning of belief. Which is why, if our purpose is to develop through understanding, making use of our ousia, self-reflection, logos, language, to make use of that to continue to understand and learn, develop, evolve, reaching those ultimate states and ultimately to know the self, then a problem, or what causes conflict, is when we butt up against following the logos. So when we're not accepting what's there to be seen through understanding, or we're adding things that aren't there, therefore, the cause of our conflict, belief, because belief functions through interpretation. So this can be a difficult thing for some people to accept because our culture has told us, no, don't challenge belief. That's how we manipulate you, through religious belief, through conservative belief, through capitalist belief. Marketing. So it's impolite to challenge beliefs. Or it's unpious, it's unreligious. Or it's un-American. Or it's un-Jewish, it's anti-Semitic to question belief itself. Oh, by the way, that is another example as a block to the logos. A understanding, terminating cliche that you can repeat as a catchphrase. And you might recognize something from your own family. No talk about politics and religion at the table. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Who are you to say what's right and wrong? Those are 3 examples, but they all have the exact same functioning. It's to dismiss what you've understood or your love of understanding, and to add and to project what isn't there. A false belief that you can't understand, or that you're not good enough, or that your mind is broken. Notice the structure. You can't understand understanding, 3rd hypothesis. Your mind is broken. You can't know the mind. You can't solve man's mysteries with your stupid mind. You're just a dumb broad. 2nd hypothesis. Or the 1st. You are not good enough. The self. Now it's that development of understanding to know the true nature of mind and the full reach of mind to go on to know the self. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd hypothesis is that we are. That's our goal. That's what we're seeking. That's our excellence as human beings. Therefore, we can recognize that belief functions to undermine the very things that we are and we seek our excellence in, and we are here to do as our purpose. It casts fear and doubt on those 3 hypotheses. And in its place, it projects its own beliefs. Therefore, the nature of human conflict, the nature of human injustice, that we function through our beliefs. So as we were saying, it's impolite to challenge belief. It's important. Because we function through our beliefs. We see through our beliefs. We speak and act through our beliefs. They're not neutral. If you vehemently believe that women are less than men, that's not something that's just funny and quirky and who cares. Because if you ever have children, and one of them's a woman, a girl, what do you think you're going to teach her every day of her life stuck in that house with you? If you're a woman and you have this belief because of your religion or your family or whatever belief, it's going to affect you. If you ever have power over others, you ever become a politician, or you get money and you have employees, or you join the military industrial complex, how do you think you are going to treat women? And we don't have to guess. We see that the sexists and chauvinists of Trump's regime are all abusing women. They fire them from their positions, they make them lie in court to defend their crimes, and of course we know what happens on Epstein Island to women. Now, not just women, but women especially. So beliefs are not neutral. They are in fact the cause of the conflict that we have within our soul, that manifests as our conflict towards others. That's the division stage of the dialectic in all our relationships and our thoughts, our fantasies, our dreams, our daydreams, our goals, our choice of goals, how we protect and maintain our goals or don't. So, what's interesting is, through these dialectics, it's this conflict within our soul that Jesus points to as evidence for evil. Evil is this conflict we face within our soul that's the cause of man's thoughts and deeds that are bad. His way of understanding that isn't belief. I mean, it'd be funny if it was, considering he was very religious, super religious, in fact, despite his recognition of understanding and knowledge as being the goals. Because you have to do both. You have to develop your understanding and knowing, wisdom, but also address your beliefs, perfect what's true and purify the false. That's how you solve every problem. When your toaster is broken, the toaster shorts out and burns something, you have to fix the problem. You have to fix the thing that was broken, but you also have to figure out why it kept shorting out in the first place. Fix the problem. And, develop the excellence. Purification and perfection. So if he's pointing to the conflict within our soul as an example of evil, or as, not an example, as the proof for evil, and we have come to understand that that conflict within the soul is actually caused by belief that we are attached to, we identify with, called the pathologos belief. And that conflict of the soul manifests as bad actions, which we've defined as irrational or unintelligible. Unintelligible meaning it's not a real and good goal, a good, true, achievable goal of reality. Irrational, the steps to reach that goal are not good. So that's how we define evil in its functioning. So the conflict within the soul, manifesting as irrational and unintelligible thoughts and deeds and words. Socrates says, hang on a second, if that's what you're pointing to as evil, and we address it where it shows up within the soul of man, and if we address the conflict within the soul of man, then there's no home for evil. Then wouldn't that mean we've defeated Satan? Defeated evil, and therefore Satan, the personification of evil? If that's the case, and we are doing our intended function, learning and using the dialectic, which is intelligible, we're focusing on the truth of reality, is rational, it is the art and skill of reasoned step-by-step reflection through conversation, through question and answer. So we're doing what is therefore the definition of goodness, also the definition of wisdom, when we reach the goal, of course, balloons, Second and third hypothesis, ousia and logos, intelligibility and rationality. So we're doing goodness. Oh, earlier in the text, it was also the standard for truth. How do we prove that society has to be built around the logos, and the current political parties are a sick belief party, especially conservatives who are defined by the pathologos? Well, we demonstrate that with reasoned reflection through words to show it's true, and showing this is reflected in intelligence itself. Verifiable in a direct the nature of truth and justice as the objective standard is verifiable in a direct encounter with intelligence itself. The penultimate enlightenment experience. So here we are doing the dialectic, which is therefore the standard for truth, the standard for wisdom, and in this dialectic, the standard of goodness. Evil being its opposite, unintelligible and irrational. So here we are, being goodness, doing goodness, and we find conflict. What manifests as a conflict to the logos, or a conflict to the dialectic? A counterattack. One of those logos defeat. Maybe we should change the name. Make it from a thought defeating cliche to a logos blocking. A logos blocking catchphrase. Jesus said, "Truth is silent about the mystery of man's existence to your small mind," or something to that effect. Truth is silent before the mysteries of man's existence. So, it stands out. It stands out because he just pulled it out of nowhere. It didn't fit. That didn't follow the lines of the whole book we've been finding the nature of truth about man's existence. That's why this book's a fucking banger. Perhaps the best book ever written. At least top 5. So, doesn't fit. It also doesn't fit the method. This wasn't something we started with a definition, in agreement. We moved to demonstration, how does it therefore functioning? And then we go to the division, see how it reasons out in the particular instance we're talking about to come to a conclusion. That's how we've been thinking. That's the whole book. That's the structure of the book itself. He didn't do that. He just said, this is the answer. That's how belief works. That's why belief is so stupid.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into positions.
It's a stupid thing because it's just, hey, believe it or else. That's Trump. Don't think, ignore your lying eyes, and believe it or else we will bomb you or send you to concentration camps. With the ICE Gestapo. That's the Nazis, same thing. That's the Israelis, same thing. Well, they don't even do that. Oh no, they do. Hey, believe that we are the chosen people and we get to genocide who we want, otherwise we'll assassinate you, or cancel you, or buy you out, buy the platform, or call you anti-Semitic. That's all religion. Can you prove Mary was a virgin? Nope. Can you disprove? Can you prove the world was 6,000 years old? That some Christians believe because they take the Bible literally? You can't. Well, you can disprove it, but shut up. Believe it or else. So, it doesn't fit in that it contradicts everything we've been doing. It doesn't fit the methodology. It's a belief out of nowhere. But also the particulars don't fit. It's a strange way of talking. It's not the way he's been talking. Truth is silent before the mysteries of man's existence. That sounds like a poem or something. That hasn't been how Jesus has been talking. So the language is weird, but also the state of mind is weird. Jesus is in a different state of mind. This is the thing we have to look out for as philosophers, human beings, and dialecticians. When are we rejecting what we've come to or pulling something out of the blue that doesn't fit? What's the part that doesn't fit? Either in our words or our state of mind. Because it's a message. Also reading, same thing. So when you're reflecting, when you are being yourself and you recognize, oh, I've just shifted. I'm into this weird mask right now. That's a bit weird. Well, my state of mind has shifted. My facial expressions have changed. My body language is a bit different now, all of a sudden. Yesterday, I was talking to someone at the music shop, having a lovely conversation, and I made a joke. It was a self-deprecating joke. And I immediately caught it. Oh, I didn't really mean it, but I recognized there was a certain state of mind and facial expression that had changed. So I caught it. Oh, that's not me. And then I did a quick midwifery review. Does this state of mind have a history? Oh yeah, I remember this. Does it go back to my family? Oh yeah. I can feel this facial expression, and I can remember seeing it in family members. That's how self communicates to us. And we're seeing it now. So Jesus says something that stands out, but also, what's this? It's a food of some kind. I spelled food, but I don't know what it is. Oh, it's barbecue sauce. Yuck. A barbecue sauce on my desk. Okay, I'll clean that in a minute. So, it's irrational. It didn't come forward through steps of reason. It's a belief. It's unintelligible. It's not true. So again, belief. Oh, isn't that the definition of evil? It causes conflict within Jesus, that state of mind he's in. As astute dialectician would recognize he's in a state of conflict. It causes conflict within the conversation itself. Here we are. He's putting that, and by the way, they're very easy to learn because the entire media system that defends either capitalism, conservatism, or the existence of religion, that's all they do. Their whole job is to defeat dialectic, defeat reasoned reflection. Sometimes by shouting over people or threatening people, right, Emma?
I'm too pure.
Emma was too pure, and she was on a CNN debate, and when she was telling the truth, they couldn't address rationally or intelligibly what she was saying, so they instead got these cowardly, disgusting, not really men to shout over her. And the equally unjust moderator allowed it to happen. So to them we say,
Freaks.
They're freaks.
That's anti-feminist in some way?
Absolutely it was. And we also say to them,
You know what? Suck my dick.
maybe that too. So, conflict within the dialogue, conflict within the soul of Jesus. Wait a minute, unintelligible and irrational. Wait a minute. This is the thing that supposedly proves the existence of evil, and therefore Satan. Socrates said, again, that didn't stand out. That seemed like a half-finished dialectic. He said, hey, if we address this conflict where it shows up, then isn't that better than inventing another justification with Satan? Inventing another cause elsewhere? Jesus didn't understand that, but he's not, Socrates isn't talking to Jesus right now, he's talking to us. Maybe. The next thing is, okay, so if we do address it within the soul, and of course Jesus isn't on board with that because he's currently in his block state. If we do address it, would that mean there's no home for evil? There's no place for evil to exist if we've addressed it in the soul. Because that's the thing you've been pointing to as the existence of evil. So if we address this specific conflict which has showed up right now, we can defeat evil and therefore Satan. And if there's no Satan, there's no war to fight. That we have to justify extreme injustice and blowing up the world for Armageddon. But how come he didn't finish that dialectic? How come the author didn't put it in the book explicitly? He's given us a puzzle to solve. How was the puzzle solved? We had to put the pieces together. That's part of reading. That's solving the puzzle. But Socrates demonstrated it. Because Socrates was able to, when this came up. So here we go. Let's have a look at these pieces. If we can vanquish Satan, we're also vanquishing evil itself. And then only good remains. Keep that in mind. So we're skipping Jesus because all he is doing is throwing out these logos blocking catchphrases from his interpretation or pathologos counterattack. So if we defeat Satan, we're also defeating evil, and that means only good is left. By the way, if it's thoroughly defeated, can it continue to exist in any way? Or is it gone for good? Jesus is still confused, so he's talking to us. By the way, if the conflict within the soul, which manifests as man's thoughts and deeds that are irrational and unintelligible, blocking the logos and understanding and dialectic, if those that conflict in those thoughts and deeds is evil, is the source of evil, is what is the evidence of evil, why not look for the cause where it springs up? In the soul, psyche of man, rather than in some cosmic war between heaven and earth. So these are the pieces. Keep going. And if we can do that, if we can address the conflict within the soul, then there's no home for evil. So where will evil play itself out if there's no home in the soul of mankind? That's it. That stood out. It stands out because he didn't go through all of the steps to the conclusion. If it stands out, it's a puzzle. We talked about certain idiosyncratic language or a sudden change in a psyche, a state of mind, sudden change in mannerisms, pulling something out of the blue that doesn't fit, as a puzzle to be solved within ourselves and our friends if we have this kind of relationship, because it's the puzzle to solve. The reason we're here is to solve the puzzle of our false image of self, the pathologos that we carry as a belief. That's the cause of our problems. So too, when we look at our dreams, is there something that stands out? That might be where the puzzle is. So too, in our reading, notice it's all the same game. It's all the dialectic. So it stands out as an incomplete dialectic, meaning it's a puzzle for us to solve. And it's given to us through demonstration. Instead of following the logos, following the dialectic, Jesus pulls something out, goes off on a tangent, a logos defeating cliche, a belief-based interpretive counterattack, and says, the truth is silent before the mysteries of man's existence. There's our evil, or irrationality or unintelligibility, or the manifestation of the conflict within the soul, or our pathologos family clan belief. See what we did there? Put it on the board, make it clear. Okay, I'll pause for a second and clean up this barbecue sauce. Alright, so on the board, let's, by the way, this is our purpose here, to master the dialectic ourselves, so congratulations for doing what is our highest and intended functioning, those who are following along. So how do you know that evil exists? Well, how else can you explain the terrible things? The terrible things people do in their thoughts and actions or words. Surely there is evil in the world. Have you not heard of the Epstein files? Have you not heard of the capitalists? Have you not heard of what religion does to people? And the millions or billions of innocent lives that have been tortured and murdered in their names. These we see as we act according to our own psyche. So there is a conflict within the soul or psyche. So Jesus is saying, this is the evidence of evil. There's conflict, as we are seeing in the text. The continuous war rages within the soul, and it mirrors the cosmic war. So this conflict or war within the soul mirrors the cosmic war. So not only is there evil, the fact that these thoughts and deeds manifest as our internal conflict, cosmic.
I guess UFOs might be Jesus.
What? UFOs might be Jesus? That's the first I'm hearing about that.
Calm your fucking tits.
Calm your tits about alien Jesus. Mirrors cosmic war. So evil has to have a source. That's Satan. The cosmic war plays out, leading to human destruction in Armageddon. Armageddon. Arma. G-E-double-D. Double D's.
Can't you just engage with anything in a way that's like meaningful ever? Like, it's just boring, I think, is the problem. I'm just bored of it.
Sorry about that silly joke. Armageddon. But wasn't it funny?
I'm going to get you. I'm going to find you. And I'm going to get you.
Oh my god, it wasn't that bad, was it? Ugh. So the conflict within the soul or psyche. And that conflict expresses a badness or that which is unintelligible. Or irrational. Which is, of course, evil. Therefore, the opposite would be the intelligible, drop.
If you don't know, now you know.
Now we know.
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing into new boundaries.
Intelligible and rational would therefore be good, goodness, so the unintelligible or irrational is evil or badness. Which is oh my goodness, I'm on the wrong board. Whoops.
You're a little bitch ass baby.
No, it's on the wrong scene. There we go.
Jesus Christ, this is not
Snoopy and Anthony or whatever the hell.
They're completely lying to you. They're completely lying.
So, unintelligibility or irrationality is the definition of evil or badness. Which is also so by definition, which is the demonstration or functioning of the devil, Satan. Which means its opposite, the intelligibility and rationality, would be, by definition, goodness. And the source of goodness, the good. Or the good itself, or in the way that we want to use it, the Greek way, the good self. Or, if you want to use theology, seeing as we're playing that game, God, the highest idea of God. So this demonstrates it as goodness, which is defined as intelligibility and rationality. So, what am I doing? I'm giving you the pieces that you yourself can use. That light's better. To take these pieces and you can... No, it's not. It's too weird looking. Let's go with the pale light. So you can do a dialectic on God and Satan. Definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion. Now, this can also unlock something for you because the dialectic is the rational reflection on something intelligible, which has two parts. If it does exist, which is the intelligibility, existing, purely existing, eternally what it is, if it is, and if it isn't. Meaning, after you put these pieces from the text together into your own dialectic, definition, demonstration, division, conclusion of both, what is the key term that does exist for there to be God, or for there to be the good self, and what doesn't exist for there to be badness, or what these people mistake as Satan. Spammer.
You need to flood these platforms with fake people.
That's yours.
It's crap. Slop.
That's you,
You know
slut.
what? Suck my dick.
Oh my goodness, you wish.
This guy's doing something worse than slop with AI. This is like sludge.
There's a sludge person in my chat. And it's not, it's AI.
Who's an AI guy?
It's an AI guy.
What the hell's wrong with you? You sick freaks.
So, evil is, we see in the thoughts and actions of people. That's what they say is what makes it evil. It's a conflict caused by a conflict within our psyche, which mirrors the cosmic war. Therefore, evil has a source, Satan. That cosmic war that Satan is fighting is the battle between heaven and earth, or heaven and hell, resulting in Armageddon. That conflict is our badness, or the unintelligibility or irrationality. That's what is evil or bad. Meaning, the intelligibility and rationality is, by definition, of the definition of goodness, which would be have its source as the good, or for Jesus, God. Now, what we've already seen is his idea of God can't exist because this God can't participate in war. So this is the actual understanding of God, the good or the good self. The art of rationality and intelligence, or ousia and logos. What do we use to contemplate the intelligible in a rational way? The dialectic. Which would therefore be goodness, and therefore we doing this dialectic, nailing it down for ourselves, and the more you do, the better. Ideally functioning by always contemplating the intelligible, which takes us back to that question that Socrates got when he was young, which happens to be a question that Parmenides, who was Socrates' teacher, also got when he was young from his teacher. What is the whole of seeing, hearing, and thinking right now? What is the mind? Before you delineate the figure in the foreground from the background so you can look at something and think about that thing, why not wonder what's the whole of seeing, hearing, and thinking? And you go one step further and say, hey, what's watching that? That would be a little fun question you could carry with you, or koan if you're fancy. That just means a spiritual question, because it's a question about that which is intelligible, the whole of mind. That's the intelligence, that's the intelligible. So when grandma says, I am smart as Socrates because Socrates says he didn't know anything and I also don't know anything, you can say, come on, grandma. What Socrates was saying is, I know what is knowable, the intelligible. So I'm wiser because I'm not going to confuse that which is not knowable for something that is. So I am wiser because I'm not mistaken about what I know, is the real quote. That sometimes it was often misquoted by people who don't know any better on Facebook. And so we say, hey, grandma.
That's weird that you think that.
You're weird that you think that.
What is
grandma.
this? The damn Opie and Anthony? Okay, whatever.
No. Yes, we are funny. All right, hold for a second. All right, we're back. Oops. Right, so where were we? We were saying something about the dialectic. the method of rationality that allows us to contemplate the intelligible. It's the art and skill of rationality. So that brings both together. Therefore, our purpose as an evolved being, and making use of our evolved capacities for intelligibility and rationality. I apologize for forgetting that whatever train of thought I was on before the break I just took. Therefore, we are participating in goodness, becoming like the self, or the highest idea of God. What we've been seeing is, through the axiom that we've been using, there's been an axiom or principle of likeness. Things that are like themselves are like that what it's equal to. This is a primary axiom. You need it for math, you need it for science, you need it for philosophy, likeness. Which is, don't use that color because that's a different color. Let's go. A strange smell outside. What is that? It smells like rotten hot dogs. What's the time? It's too early for a barbecue. What's going on with that smell? So the dialectic uses the principle of likeness. Therefore, if the dialectic is the participation in goodness, and the good self or God also participates in goodness, then using that principle of likeness, if A equals B and C equals B, then C would also equal A. Then the dialectician, which is what we are doing right now, self or God. We could be becoming more like self or the highest idea of God. So there's a dialectic on what is true that we could piece together because we noticed there was some things that stood out as not fitting. That is, as there was an incomplete dialectic that Jesus was trying to dismiss, but we don't have to dismiss. This is the benefit of being able to have these conversations in public or in a book. Those that are ready to see can see themselves. So our development is not limited by the development of somebody else, like Jeebus. So that's a dialectic on what's true, but going back to evil, the unintelligible or irrational, the conflict which is within the soul. Recognizing that, we can understand the nature of our conflict is, therefore, given this, going back to our chain here, therefore the conflict within the soul is that which, or the opposition to the intelligible or rational, which is the logos as the object, or its method or power. Let's go back and make sure we're not making up stories. The power of the Logos. Power of Satan. Power of evil. Power of the Logos. Wait a minute, we haven't read this yet. Ooh, we got some things coming up. Power of Logos. No, not there. Power of Usia, power of Usia, power of Usia. Let's say type in power of Logos. Oh. How about Hermes? No, utterly, like a cow that falls over. You utterly foul.
The T-virus will transform me into an epic creation.
That's... Well, also the dialectic may transform you into epic.
I think it's so awesome.
Like a cow that falls down, you utterly fail.
Unbelievable sluts these days.
Oh my goodness, these days. Here we go. Hermes is the supplier of philosophy and elevates the souls akin to him. Akin, like. Therefore, within the idea of likeness or the axiom or principle or likeness itself, one of those gods or aspects of intelligence, likeness, recognizable and verifiable in that experience of intelligence itself, that axiom that we've just been talking about, things that are like the same thing are like each other. Also, analogy. We are elevated, so we ourselves are elevated. So we're not just learning interesting things about reality by understanding axioms and principles. We care about this stuff because they're meaningful, and they're meaningful because they have an effect on our own state of mind, soul, or psyche. We are elevated ourselves, those who are like Hermes. What is someone like Hermes? Well, if Hermes is the dialectic, dialecticians are those who are elevated. So what we are doing is something that can elevate our soul. And if you want to feel special, you can say we are doing the spiritual quest. If you want to use the right word, you could say it's a yoga. But you don't have to make it special and fancy if you don't want to. It's just our purpose as human beings, making use of our minds and reason. Unless you include the dialectic, which is the power of the Logos. You will utterly fail. To achieve passage from the brilliant light of being to the good. So he's given it to us in a negative. Often, if you find the negative, the puzzle is just flip it. Like you're playing Resident Evil and you come across some carving that's in a stand on a desk of an evil villain who's trying to do a T-virus, but it's not, it's backwards. You realize, oh, I'm supposed to flip it around, and then the passageway opens up, and then you solve puzzle. So we flip it, meaning we will fail if we don't include the dialectic, meaning, and if we want to create the passage from the object of intelligence, the brilliant light of being, to the good itself, or God, you need the dialectic. You will fail without it, but you will succeed with it because of the principle of likeness. So that principle of elevating souls, using the principle of likeness to reach our good, God, Zeus, all comes together within a single image, Hermes. That's the power of theology. It can help us remember and talk about lots of different things together in one image. Not literal. Not actually a dude with magic shoes. So the power of the Logos uses that principle of likeness to make the dialectician like the self, or in the book, the good self. The good itself, or the self-good. Or God. So we are becoming divine. Hooray for us. Therefore, if that's our purpose, to master the dialectic, to participate in goodness and therefore become like God or elevated through Hermes, let's include that extra bit of confirmation from the text. So we can bring this idea together. Elevated through Hermes, which we read a long time ago in the book. But now that we have done some work, we have gone from reading it to understanding it. So we can do a dialectic on why it is the case. So only 4 steps. What's the nature of badness? That which is unintelligible or irrational. What's the nature of goodness? That which is intelligible and rational. What's the art or skill that makes use of that? The dialectic. Therefore, the dialectic is participating in goodness. What also functions through goodness? The good itself, or the highest idea of God. Bring in now the axiom of likeness. Things that are equal to the same thing are equal to each other. If this traffic light A means stop your car, and then you come across another traffic light C, which is the same color as that first traffic light A, you can realize that you have to look at this traffic light that you haven't seen before and realize you're supposed to stop your car. See? Basic axiom we take for granted in even being able to drive a car. It's the axiom of likeness. So we bring in that axiom, put the pieces together. If the dialectic is defined as the intelligible and rational and therefore goodness, the dialectician participates in goodness. If God or the good self participates in goodness, then that makes us, so long as we are participating or functioning in our role as a dialectician, we are becoming God. Or, as said earlier in the text, we are elevated through Hermes by being akin to Hermes. To the good itself. Capital T, because there's only one, to the good self. Page 227. Okay, so there's our purpose, that's our method. We've done many dialectics on the dialectic and many dialectics to see how it's the meaning of life. Therefore, that which is unintelligible and causing a conflict within our thoughts and words is that which opposes the Logos, opposes our development to the intelligible, to know what is good or goodness, what is justice, what is beauty, what is the rational method to reach it. That's the intelligible. and of course the passage through that to the good itself. So that's our purpose. So we have problems. It's not that the problem isn't that we have problems. We're supposed to have problems. That's part of being a human being, being born into a family in this culture, or whatever culture you're born into, whatever time, whatever history. That's part of our evolution. We are carrying an allegiance to false beliefs from our caveman heritage, making it primitive. That causes our allegiance to injustice through images from belief, making it therefore savage. We savagely respond to that which is good and true and in our interest. Due to our loyalty, just as the Nazis are loyal to Hitler and the MAGAs are loyal to Trump and the genocidal Jewish Israelis are loyal to Netanyahu, it's our loyalty to dear leader that makes us savage. Because we oppose our understanding, truth, reason, and benefit, keeps us in an NPC script, leading to our fate, which happens to be Armageddon, for belief, because belief is always in conflict, that's how it ends. Or a zombie virus, because it saps our psychic energy, which we should be using to master the dialectic with our time here, freeing us from our problems in this world and elevating our reincarnation beyond. So as Socrates says, escaping from the chains of ignorance and suffering, and the prison from reincarnation. Back down here. So, the conflict within our soul, or that which is unintelligible or rational, functions to create a conflict by opposing the logos, or the dialectic, or your participation in the power of the logos. What we've just understood. How do we do that? That opposition comes from belief. But not just any old belief, because the dialectic is using understanding to purify beliefs. It's our savage, loyal, primitive beliefs, or the pathologos beliefs. Therefore, pathologos belief being the source of our conflict that we have come to understand, not evil. The source of our pathologos beliefs are our images. So there's our fourth hypothesis, belief. That causes our fifth hypothesis, images, in opposition to our third hypothesis, understanding. Second hypothesis, knowing or mind. There's our irrational and unintelligible, and preventing us from using that to pass through that as a passage to know the self. So the images cause our beliefs, and our beliefs cause our image thinking. It's our false appearance of justice, or it's the appearance, the image or appearance. Let's find it in the text. Appearance. A-P-P-E-A-R-A-N-C-E. A God that punishes is no God at all. Man's true God is to see that his problems spring from nothing else than having taken the appearance of truth, because of our understanding that truth is also goodness, is also oneness, because that's the nature of the intelligible second hypothesis. The appearance of truth or beauty or justice, of what appears so noble and true, so noble justice, as if it is what is really real and true, The appearance of virtue masks every act of vice. There we go. So, it was there in the text the whole time, but we've rediscovered it for ourselves through the dialectic. So the appearance of our earliest teachers, the appearance of virtue, the appearance to reality, the image of the false, any image of the self has to be less than itself. Appearance of excellence. Here we go. Let's read this section here. This is where this is the source of that which is so the evil in reality is this is its source. So while our pathologos beliefs cause the conflict and opposition to the logos, its source ain't Satan, it's this. Let's read it. There is always a time where the child steps out of the generally accepted state of mind that masks the family psyche or soul or state of mind. It seems natural, beautiful, and it has a sense of freedom to it. You're doing good. At this moment, the parental figure has to end that freedom, or the clan will have to deal with the freedom of expression in other ways that are unsettling. What? That's not what we do in our family. What? Say what? That child is... It's improper, I say. It's anti-Semitic, I say. It isn't Christian. Say what? Why, my stars, that's not a Christian way of thinking. Humble yourself before the Lord. Feel shame. See, lots of different ways. You could bring in any culture, any family, find one you're familiar with, have fun with it. But it's unsettling to that family way of being for you to be in that state of freedom, which is your good state of mind. Whatever the incident is, it becomes the object of scorn and condemnation. That way of being becomes taboo. So often in families, they will recount, hey, remember that time you were open and free? And then you, maybe over Thanksgiving or whatever, and then all of the family joins in. Yes, let's all mock you. Ha 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 ha. Mocking. So they can, often in families what happens is they will bring up that experience again as mocking. As one of the ways human beings act savagely towards that which is good and true. So they often remind you of it. But there's the origin scene where you first learned it. That's what we're interested in. The origin of evil, not evil, origin of conflict. Belief. So, that way of being becomes taboo, and the incident becomes an object of scorn and condemnation. The state of mind that accompanies that way of being is linked and also forbidden. To make the false appear true, so all of that was false. It was a big scam played on you that they learned from their parents, who learned from their parents all the way back to the caveman day. To make the false appear true, the parental figure has to appear, appearance, shapes and colors. Appear most knowing, most noble. Appear most noble as knowing the truth about life. So, we talk about why is it that conservatives, clergy, and capitalists always are sadistic? Why doesn't Elon use his billions of dollars to cure hunger or solve hunger? Why do they perpetuate a system of capitalist oppression and slavery and murder for profit? Because they are pretending to be knowing. They are imitating this unjust scene as their mark of what it is to be knowing, because they haven't done their job as a human being, which is philosophical midwifery, to uncover the source of their evil deeds, this scene. Why is Trump so evil? Why is Netanyahu so evil? Why is Musk and Bezos so evil? Why are all the people in power in our society so evil? They haven't done their fucking job, which is philosophical midwifery. To uncover this injustice they are still imitating and suffering from. The same injustice they suffered becomes the source of their anger. It becomes the source of their projection, their beliefs that they project on others. So we say, why are the Jews always tribalising? Why are they doing a genocide and being the most disgustingly evil people in the world and claiming to be victims? Because they project their own injustice onto the world while still internally suffering from the injustice of this origin scene where they learned how to be a good Jew or a good anyone, family member, MAGA, Nazi, Christian. To make the false appear as true, the parental figure has to appear most noble and knowing, so everyone seeks a position where they can pretend to be the knower, not with actual knowing, like a surgeon or a mechanic who has to demonstrate an understanding of his art, use that art to benefit. No. As far as I'm aware, any fucking idiot can become a politician. And as I look forward, and it's the worst of us. Because it's the only profession where you can be completely blocked from the logos. You can understand nothing, like Donald Trump, but have all the power. Religion, same thing. You can be completely opposed to understanding, and that's a benefit for religion or belief. Capitalist, you can be the most cruel, sadistic son of a bitch and become a billionaire by buying up all the homes, starting wars for profit if you own the military-industrial complex. Treat your workers like shit. There is no obligation for understanding and a removal of beliefs as there are for other professions. So, we understand why. Why is that their idea of knowing? Cruelty? Oh. Why is Trump racist as fuck? Oh, his dad was a KKK official. Oh, there you go. Why is Elon Musk using his power and wealth to do white supremacist Nazi propaganda? Oh, his dad was like that. Oh, there you go. Where did his dad get it from? I wonder. Where did his dad get it from? Where did his great-granddad get it from? All the way back. So, to appear noble, to appear knowing about the truth of life, by the way, that's why they get on these podcasts. Oh, I know how to solve world's problems. I'm going to go on Joe Rogan. And appear being the utmost sincere and caring. These scenes are rare, always rare, and the child sees what it is to be knowing and caring. And this becomes the way of being to imitate. It creates a new way of being, which is the new way of life for the child. With this new vision, the child gladly accepts the clan belief that gives the appearance of excellence, so it is a pseudo-excellence. We see the same thing going on as flocks of people to go to see excellence unfold in front of them. So the opposite of that is, I see LeBron James doing excellence on the basketball court. They admire the excellence they see, and it inspires them to achieve something similar in their own lives. So, you see someone doing basketball, you want to be the best basketball player you can be. Equally so, but in the more fundamental sense, it's the appearance or image of our earliest loved ones, because they also appear caring and loving. Of parental figures. Actually, let's move this down. Image appearance of justice, truth, nobility instead of justice, truth, caring, virtue, well, the word was noble, so let's put noble instead of justice. Let's keep it as the text. Noble. Appear most noble, knowing about the truth of life, and sincere and caring. Sincere. Caring. Or in a word, virtue. Which is pseudo-excellence. That's the thing that keeps us on the train tracks of fate. So people seek positions where they can play out this pseudo-excellence with impunity, have kids, become a capitalist, become a politician, whatever. Have power over others, not power with, which is what a dialectician has. Excellence. So the appearance of those things in parental figures that we therefore love, and have not reflected on and understood or rational, which is in the dialectic of philosophical midwifery and dream analysis. As Socrates has been saying, you need dream analysis along with it. So, evil exists, says someone who believes in evil. Based on what? Based on, of course it does, you idiot. Look at the thoughts and actions or words of human beings that suck, that are terrible, that are horrific. Therefore, that's evil. And that has to have a source. That must be Satan. Those thoughts, actions, and words, we all know, stem from a similar conflict those weirdos are having within their soul, which mirrors their cosmic war, and therefore, again, demonstrating that reality is a battleground between that we have in our soul that mirrors God and the devil. You have the devil in your heart. Do an exorcism, says weirdo freaks.
You're a little bitch-ass baby.
We're little bitches.
Absolutely gooped.
And they're all gooped. By the way, the definition of that which is bad thoughts, evil thoughts and words and stuff is that which is unintelligible or irrational. That's the definition of badness, and therefore the demonstration of Satan. The opposite is equally true. Would equally be true. That which is intelligible and rational would be the definition of goodness and the functioning of the good itself, or God. The art, the skill and art of that which is intelligible and rational is the dialectic. Therefore, using that axiom of likeness, A is equal to B, C is equal to B, then C is also equal to A. If the dialectic is equal to goodness, if the good self or God is equal to goodness, then the dialectician is becoming equal to the good itself, or the self, or God. We also saw this confirmed earlier in the text. And Socrates said, by the way, I'll tell you how philosophy works. Philosophy works by Hermes, the dialectic, elevating souls akin to him, dialecticians, through the brilliant light of being to the good itself. And if without it, you will utterly fail, like a cow that trips over.
It's not being crazy. It's called reaching a higher sense of being.
that joke helped you reach a higher state of being.
Honestly, on the real, I say stuff like that because I'm cool.
Yeah, and that makes me cool too. Right, Emma?
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
Keep telling us that you're cute. You don't have to remind us that. So, therefore, if that's the nature of that which is unintelligible and rational, our purpose, and leads to our good and our highest purpose, or our destiny, escaping our fate that keeps us bound to our ignorance and reaches our destiny or highest purpose and ultimate goal and reason for being, that which is unintelligible or rational has to be in opposition to that. That which is in opposition to that is actually that which is unintelligible or irrational is first of all our interpretations. They are not rational. Our interpretations which is our projection, what isn't there, and our blocks or blind spots to leave out what is. That we carry in our beliefs. So that is what is unintelligible and irrational. It's not real. It's a belief. It's not following what's actually happening. It's something we project. There's our, and it also functions itself in opposition to the logos and the dialectic, which is also to oppose that, requires you to be irrational and unintelligible, but also is bad. The definition of badness. So, the source of that we have come to see are our pathologos beliefs, the class of belief that we are savagely, primitively, NPC-like, zombie-likely loyal to, not evil. So we've done another, in the course of this super dialectic or special dialectic that we have uncovered, we've also proved that evil isn't in existence because we don't have to generate it to prove man's badness or unintelligibility and irrationality. Not evil. The source of our pathologos belief, as we just read, is the image and appearance. So there's the connection between our fifth hypothesis, image thinking, which is a manifestation of our beliefs. So it's our fifth hypothesis, image thinking, that we project on the world, that we look for in our problems so we can get on that seat with a dialectician. But equally so, it is the image or appearance that helped us, well, that caused us to believe what we believed. So someone who's participating in the hypotheses properly are searching the earth for a dialectician. Reminiscing about the years that I spent trying to get on the seat myself. So you can sit on that seat, fifth hypothesis. See you on the seat. Talking about uncovering your fourth hypothesis beliefs with a third hypothesis dialectician who is themselves doing their intended functioning and becoming like God or the self, who is using as his model the second hypothesis. So not the appearance of all of those things that are intelligible, but the truth, the good. Oh, my phone is actually charging. Hooray. Thank goodness. The truth, goodness, oneness, excellence, all of the things that, so this dialectician is contemplating the second. Therefore, these things are in imitation as the source image that is the cause of those fourth hypothesis belief that caused our fifth hypothesis problems. Therefore, we've understood in this little picture here the cause of human problems, the imitation of the second hypothesis, the fourth hypothesis, causing our irrational functioning, fifth hypothesis, which is the imitation of the third. So our unintelligible and irrational or evil isn't evil, it's an imitation. Our soul wants to do good, it just has a pretender on the throne. While the second hypothesis is the intelligible and the third is the rational, therefore being functioning, the dialectician functioning in the way that he's doing. So, evil isn't evil, it's ignorance, fourth and fifth. Goodness is the dialectic, second and third, or wisdom. And all of this is so that they can ultimately find the source of wisdom, which is also then the source of the imitation, which is the self. So that's the human drama. In a wee fun picture.
Off the perky, call me Kirky.
Now you're off the perky, and I will call you Kirky.
I'm too pure.
If you don't know, now you know.
And now we know.
My head is quite large and filled with secrets.
Now you're large. Now your head is quite large and filled with secrets. Okay, so there's our image that takes the steps of reasoning. So the source of our opposition to the logos and dialectic, which is the functioning of unintelligibility, which is the functioning of our interpretations, projections, and blind spots that function in opposition to the logos and dialectic. The source of that is our pathologos beliefs, or not evil, and the source of that is the unexamined, unreflected on image and appearance of vice as virtue or pseudo-excellence we haven't reflected on, and not Satan. So, there's a dialectic. So therefore, how do we overcome evil and Satan? We take those unexamined, not reflected. So let's get rid of the word not. Actually, let's get rid of the image and appearance of nobility, sincerity, caring, virtue, or that becomes pseudo-excellence. In the parental figures that we love, that we have, that remain that are unexamined, and therefore unchallenged. This is ironic because the thing that triggers the savageness, you become a savage, primitive, zombie, slave, NPC, crazy person, is when you find your own, these particular images and beliefs being challenged. Sometimes I used to call them barking dogs, because there were some times where I'd be talking to someone in this kind of a way, and there'd be people listening nearby, and they'd be so triggered by this rationality, triggering their family opposition to rationality, but they don't have any rational reason. I'm helping the person. Everything I said was true. We were saying was true and helpful and good. So they become so savage that they just start yelling noises And it's very disturbing. Fucking crazy shit. I used to call them barking dogs. But then the author of this book said, it's not barking dogs, that's just their accent. Because they were yelling unintelligible, irrational noises. But it's their accent. So I haven't completely understood that, but I'm still wondering about that many years later. But we are coming to understand that as the human counterattack reaction of their beliefs as they go through their learning process. The trick is to point out, hey, by the way, are you helping? I talked about a video recently from Too Lazy to Try, a YouTube slop content thing. It's okay, it's fun. But Hassan Piker went over to Cuba to shine light on the injustice that they are suffering at the hands of the American capitalist Epstein class. And Too Lazy to Try did a video of how that's bad. And the reason why it's bad is because he is rich and could have nice house and nice clothes. And that makes him a hypocrite by saying, hey, I got rich from capitalism. To say capitalism is murdering and destroying and impoverishing all of these innocent people in Cuba, you can't say that if you've benefited, which is fucking stupid and insane. Of course, he's used whatever wealth he has to buy the nicest clothes and house he has. That's what everyone does. That's what money's for. And that makes him successful so long as he's an evil capitalist trying to screw people over like Elon Musk. But whenever you try and do something good, then that's bad. A doctor can't cure a sick patient unless the doctor is sick himself. A doctor can't use his abilities to heal a sick patient who's poor unless the doctor is poor himself. So they couldn't realize how stupid they were being, and so I asked a question, how are you functioning? How are you functioning? If someone who's trying to address injustice and do something just, and your reaction is to make completely irrational and unintelligible arguments to attack him, how are you functioning? And then the response I got, but did he shock his dog? See, didn't make sense. The fuck do I know about his dog? Nothing. Other than that, these people are weirdly obsessed with one moment where a dog caught his paw. The whole thing was the dog caught his paw trying to get into his dog bed and went, ah! And the son's like, oh, what's going on? Oh, that's the shock collar he was reacting to. Completely interpreted to create a justification for their inflicting of injustice upon him, because he participates in reason to a degree that challenges their own personal beliefs that are opposed to reason. That's the human savage ignorant condition. Whether you're manufacturing it with this incident or you're manufacturing it with what are the Israeli Jews doing? Oh yes, they manufactured this event they call October 10th. Not just manufacturing over torturing and imprisoning and genociding a people for decades in the largest open-air prison, concentration camp, turning their home into a concentration camp, creating the conditions for someone to fight back, but literally funding and creating the event. Oh, they didn't know it was going to happen? They just let it happen? Oh, wow. The most surveilled place in the world, they didn't notice this was happening? Bull fucking shit. 9/11, same thing. Oh, 3 towers fell with 2 planes hitting 2 buildings. Doesn't add up, does it? Unless you realize that there's the people who own the buildings took out terrorist insurance a week before. Oh, and the one day he didn't show up for work was that day. Oh, and the person who took the video footage of that happened to be in the right place in the right time. Looked like a missile, by the way. Oh, and every single architect says that's impossible for a building to collapse the way it did. Or for a plane to cause that damage. Oh, and those people who took out that insurance and were magically not there. Frequented Epstein Island. And spent their whole career lying about their association with Epstein. So, something that people have known for a long time, but thankfully we are waking up to the fact that human beings try to invent, fabricate, or project conditions to justify evil. It's not that you are ignorant and need a dialectician, it's you are evil. So therefore, punishment, which is the justification, I can feel righteous in inflicting injustice or retribution or violence or murder or rape. All of that stuff these people do. Evil is required to justify punishment, which is required to justify the infliction of violence, oppression, and suffering savagely as good, because punishment is the idea that it's good because of evil. So we're understanding why that works. When we find something that opposes that NPC script we become irrational and unintelligible, or evil, not evil. We're in our problem, the accent that we have. The unexamined and unchallenged, and therefore when people start to challenge those beliefs, people can become like barking dogs. Shut up. Don't talk about that. That's impolite. Everyone's entitled to their own beliefs, their own ignorance. Unchallenged. That's impolite. Not American, not Christian, anti-Semitic, or not pious. Pious, improper. It's not how you spell pious. So, the source of our conflict within our soul that manifests as our negative, bad thoughts and words. Put the word bad there. Bad thoughts and words, which is the evidence for evil or Satan. From the conflict within our psyche, the bad is the bad being that which is unintelligible or rational. Comes from the interpretations we carry with us through our beliefs, which functions as our projection or blind spots, used to justify. So those projections are used to justify injustice as punishment, injustice in our function, and vice. I can be as cruel and torturous as I want as pseudo-justice, or punishing evil. So that's all projection. So all of the bullshit that Netanyahu says about them being victims is used to justify their being the most cruel, unjust savages towards humanity and our species. The source of that, which also, so whether you're projecting blocks your own participation in the Logos, or you're blocking others, so your own self, So your own self. God damn it. SELF. Or others, if you're inflicting it on other people. Opposition to the logos and dialectic, because when you're punishing someone, you ain't having fun reflecting on the cause of your problems. You are justifying your ignorance. Playing a sadistic game with someone who wants to abuse people because they're too fucking stupid to learn. Until they wake up. For this purpose. So, the source of our badness or opposition to the logos and dialectic, ourselves or others, is our pathologos beliefs, not evil. Its cause is the unexamined and unchallenged appearance and image of virtue or excellence in our parental figures that we still love because they remain unexamined and unchallenged, not Satan. Therefore, goodness is the intelligible or rational, which is like God, making us like God as well as solving problems. So it's helping us and others. That's helping ourselves and others. So becoming like God is our benefit and purpose. Ourself. Also, that dialectic can benefit others, just as belief and interpretation functions negatively, opposing the logos and dialectic ourselves, and inflicts injustice as punishment on others, also blocking them. So our interpretations, punishment and evil, or our interpretation of beliefs through our pathologos harms ourselves, harms others. Projection and blind spots. Which are then projected to justify harming others. Those projections and blind spots harm ourselves by blocking our participation in the logos and dialectic. The infliction of suffering and punishment or enslavement or cruelty, all of the injustice we see in our world, inflicted within your soul on others, is what harms others. It's hard to participate in the logos if you're telling someone shut up, or if you're torturing them, or if you're murdering them on Epstein Island, or you're dropping bombs on their head, or you're making them a wage slave for the profits of a capitalist, or you're murdering them in a holy war. You are blocking their participation in the logos or dialectic, which is their purpose for themselves, makes them like the self, harms others. The source of that isn't evil, but our pathologos beliefs. The source of our pathologos beliefs isn't Satan, but the unsuspected, unchallenged, false appearance of beauty and justice from our parental figures that we still love because they are still associated with sincerity and caring and beauty. Therefore, going back to what is good, the dialectic is the benefit and purpose of ourself to become like God or like the self, but we can also benefit others by taking those problems, those suffering from those problems, and doing what color? What color? Yellow. Do the dialectic. Use the dialectic in philosophical midwifery to do the examining and challenging of those images that are the cause of those beliefs, that are the cause of those conflicts within oneself and to others, and necessarily dream analysis as well, because that will give you the extra clues and guidance. That's how we dialectic. Whoop, dream analysis. ANALYSIS. Not punishment, not war, and not or exploitation. But I mean, the exploitation comes, well, I can use war to profit. Oh, I can use punishment to use these people in prisons and not have to pay them. Oh, my capitalist extra profits this quarter. Increase the portfolio of shareholders. And not Armageddon. How do we spell it? ARMA double G. Not ARMAGGEDON. So, we've understood our purpose for ourselves and how we benefit others. We've understood the opposite, how we harm ourselves and harm others, which is to project through projections and blind spots from our beliefs that oppose our participation in the logos or dialectic. Its cause is our pathologos beliefs, not evil. Its cause is our unchallenged, unexamined images of our early parental figures we still love and take as the model of virtue, not Satan. And the solution is the dialectic in philosophical midwifery and dream analysis, not Armageddon. So we've defeated Satan, evil, and Armageddon, while understood also, therefore, how to solve problems, how to reach excellence, how to benefit, and our purpose or meaning of life as humans, or any intelligent species who have evolved to this level of capacity for participation in ousia and logos, intelligibility and reason, or the dialectic, which is dialectic. Can you imagine taking someone else, dialectic, through these steps of reasoning yourself? If so, you can be benefiting others. Can you imagine yourself going through this over and over to benefit yourself? If you do so, not only are you benefiting others, but you are doing your purpose and becoming like the good itself, the self, God, or knowing thyself. There we go. Thumbs up. So this is how we solve that puzzle that was in the text of what's God talking about. Now, he doesn't just say this. He doesn't just give us these. Where's my coffee going? All right, we'll take a break to get some more coffee, but let's leave it on the on here. See? How pretty. How pretty. Is it pretty? Is it cool? Is it a cool map? Is it a cool map? Is it worth putting on your fridge? Is it worth practicing with your friends over coffee? Speaking of coffee. See, look, down here we have where it starts. We start with a puzzle. See, notice, if we were punishing people, we wouldn't have discovered this. We're taking human problems as a puzzle, like we take our dreams as a puzzle, like we take this text as a puzzle. We're looking for puzzles to solve. Puzzles breed questions. Carrying a question is to be on a quest. This is the hero's journey, or the quest of man. So we started with a puzzle. Evil, Satan, Armageddon. We understood what actually it comes from. We've understood what it actually is. We've understood the opposite of what's good or God or actually the self. We've understood how we get there. That's the dialectic. We've understood that not only do we take this road, our perfection to become like God, but we can double back around and help others who are on that negative road. So that they diverged into the bad and the good, but the good can come back around and help people who are suffering from a problem. Therefore, the two roads come back together in the single meaning of life, our purpose, what is needed for solving problems, reaching excellence, and benefiting ourselves and others. The dialectic. Not Armageddon. So, by seeing our problems are pathologos belief, not evil. Its source is our unexamined images from childhood. By the way, that reflect our evolution through multiple reincarnations to pick a family like that, by the way, so interesting. The course of pathologos belief, not evil, is our unchallenged, unexamined images of loved ones, not Satan, and the solution is not Armageddon, but the dialectic. So, there we go. That's how we can take those, this current level of the text. Jesus has just been using those counter-attack, logos blocking counter-attack phrases that, again, could be puzzles. If Jesus realized he's been blocked from seeing this fantastic map all the way along, then we could say, oh, do you want to find out where it came from? Because what's interesting is you used interesting words that stick out. Just as this puzzle stuck out. You talked in a different way. You had different mannerisms. You used a weird language. These are all clues from your earliest images that you're here to solve, they're here to examine and reflect on and solve. Therefore, you could make a sequel to this book, and I think that's what Socrates has been hinting at. He did mention you could do a sequel to this book called Socrates and Buddha, where they discuss the ox herding pictures. As we go through this method, you can find there are stages of catching the pathologos, removing the pathologos, mastering the logos, and you can represent them through the ox herding pictures of Buddhism. But that also means, hang on a second, maybe he's saying there are two sequels. Triquels. You could do a triquel of this book and have the next book, Socrates and Jesus, a midwifery talk in heaven. And as another clue we've been given, all the way through, the standard of what's the highest peak of philosophical and human advancement is whether or not we can apply that dialectic to our dreams. Because dreams give us our negative states of mind that have a negative drama to failures and positive states of mind. It does both. It might be the functioning of God or the self or the good. That's a question we've been carrying all the way through the text. So you could have Socrates and Jesus a dream talk in heaven and do the midwifery as well as the dialectic. Up to you. If you're doing so, you would be benefiting yourself because you would be doing your intended purpose, benefiting yourself, making you participate in the dialectic, participating in likeness, participating as God or the good self. And others can read it and can benefit too. So it's a win-win.
It's a win, 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 it's a win. It's a win-win-win-win-win. It's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win. So we've understood our purpose, we've understood how to help people, we've understood how to solve problems and reach excellence, and at the same time we've purified some of the most common and most dangerous false beliefs and cause of human evil, cause of human injustice, abuse, and extinction of our species. We've got rid of the idea of evil, got rid of the idea of Satan, and we've got rid of the necessity for Armageddon. So, win-win-win-win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
It's awesome and it's gangster.
And it was gangster. So, let's put this on the board. There you go. Worth it? Fun? Worth the 170 episodes along the way? Have the map. Pretty good. Take this with you everywhere. In your reincarnation, hopefully. Into your dreams, hopefully. Can you be a dialectician wherever you go? Whatever species, whatever cosmos, whatever time, whatever space, whatever dream you're in. If it's true in principle. And if the idea of Satan and God represents the 7th of the 10 possible worldviews anyone can have in existence, then for us it's Jesus and Satan, but for a different dimension, a different alien species, it's Gloop Glock and Xenu. Or Xenu's one we have here already. It's Gloop Glock and Waka Waka. I don't know. Waka Waka is probably not a name of the devil because it's a 7th hypothesis. You might see them other places. They might not have God versus this devil, but some people might say, oh, it's survival of the fittest. It's us billionaires against you workers. There's no coming together. All we can do is throw you in concentration camps, which is what we're doing, what they are doing. So it's a kind of learning and nurture which is eternal, can be applied to any species, the kind of learning and nurture we would therefore have to be doing as a soul that knows that you are only here on this earth for a short amount of time. So we can do our work that we can carry with us in our soul and our psyche, becoming like the self or the good self ourselves. So let's jump in and see how it played out in the conversation with Jesus and see if we can see more of how Jesus' own personal images of his parents and religious figures maybe might have manifested his own personal pathologos belief. See the irony in that he is doing the evil thing he's so fervently against by seeing how he is adding things that are not there, which is projection. Or leaving out things that are there. Whoops. That might be functioning to block the very dialectic we are reading and he is in. So adding is projection. Leaving out is blind spots. So can we see more about what's happening in this very dialogue as a result of having done this map and this reflection? Can we see Jesus justifying punishment? Oh, spam bot.
This is like even worse than AI sludge somehow.
Double spam bot.
Get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out. Come on.
What the hell kind of a show is this?
This guy has found something beyond slop.
Beyond
It's
is a rug pull.
Fucking bitch, pussy ass fucker.
You pushy ass fucking bitch.
Oh my fuck.
Oh my fuck. That's to you both spammers. Can we see this playing out within the dialogue? Interpreting, adding things that are not in the dialogue, leaving out things that he has concluded already, either in this dialectic or earlier in the book. Functioning to oppose the Logos, harming himself and others if he has power over others. And what do you know? It's Jesus, so he does. Has influence at least. So can we see more about this opposition to the Logos as what is actually evil, or not evil, but what it actually is? And can we see how Socrates is functioning in a good way? And can we tie it into that other thing we haven't done yet, which is make sense of why he says, hey, if we defeat Satan and evil, as we've done here, can we defeat him for good? Or are we bound to always be in a struggle, not between good and evil, between pathologos and logos? If we can defeat him properly in this way, by addressing the root cause of our problems, have we solved the problem for good? An example of that would be the Nazis. We never addressed the cause of their images and pathologos and societal pathologos beliefs that caused a blind, dogged, duty above everything loyalty to Hitler. Because we didn't address that, we have the Nazis again, still. Doing Nazi shit all over the place. If we do solve the problems in the right way, the dialectic, addressing the cause, rationally and intelligibly, as God would, as the self does, is it solved for good? Let's have a look. Okay, let's jump back in. Play the noise. Oh, coffee's hot. So let's take that map and see if we can see it in the dialogue. We're a bit back. Let's go forward a bit. There we go. So the first, it starts off with Socrates, like Apollo hitting the mark with his bow, hitting the mark with a fantastic demonstration of the state of mind Jesus is currently in as his pathologos. Seventh hypothesis, venerated in the highest kind of way with the most scope. So this, what's your idea of self? What's your idea of reality? What's your idea of justice? What's the idea of truth? You can put them all together. What's your idea of God? Is your God a historical force that has a chosen people guiding it through history? Chosen people? Do we see that with the Jews saying, oh, we get to kill whoever we want and do whatever we want on Epstein Island because God said so? God promised us the Palestinian land because we say so? We believe it? Christians, same thing. Muslims, same thing. Not exactly the same, of course, but starts with him hitting the mark. And then the dialectic on the God, that God can't exist. By first of all, defining God as necessary to overcome the power of evil, spawned by the evil one Satan. By the way, wouldn't you say evil is irrationality and non-intelligible contemplation or actions? Would the mark of God be someone who is perfectly in its state? And that state would be good, therefore perfectly good. Preserving his nature. By the way, if you're perfectly good, you cannot utter falsehoods or act in an evil way, which is unintelligible or irrational. By the way, is war the abandonment of the intelligible? therefore evil, therefore not good, therefore can't be God. So we've gotten rid of that idea of God. Satan would have to marshal his forces for that war. Is that an act of reasoning or rationality? Would he have to contemplate his good goal within the war? Is that a kind of intelligibility? His battle plans and actions must fail if they lack intelligibility. So even preparing for a war, or whether or not he's won the war, can win the war, can't happen. Now we're up to where we are. So we've gotten rid of the devil and God in principle through a dialectic that you can practice with your friends over coffee. Cheers.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Important thing to remember as well. Thank you, Oracle.
I love this guy.
And me as well.
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
Thank you, Emma. So this is the puzzle. By the way, if we do defeat evil, we've also defeated Satan. And if they are defeated, only good remains. Only a good. Even Satan, if he was vanquished, he would know that in good overcoming evil, the Logos overcoming the Pathologos, for us having done the work, that evil itself would be annihilated, Pathologos itself would be annihilated, and only the good, the Logos, the self-Logos, functioning through the dialectic, remains. So now we can make sense of that thing. That line doesn't make sense, doesn't have any other context within the discussion with Jesus, but for us, therefore, well, we have understood the cause of evil and Satan, Pathologos beliefs and images, fourth and fifth hypothesis, ignorance within the map. When we overcome that with dialectic in dream analysis and midwifery, even the Pathologos would know it's been defeated and only good remains. What's the functioning of the good? The dialectic. Goodness, the functioning of self. Only the good remains, overcoming our 10th hypothesis, Pathologos, which is the root cause of the 4 kinds of Pathologos. The one in particular we're addressing is the 7th. We see that in overcoming evil and Satan, not that, Pathologos, attachment to beliefs and images, we are not blocked from reaching the first hypothesis. God, highest idea of God, the self, the good self, or the self-Logos. There we go. Is that good to know? That your problems are overcomable always? Once overcome, they're gone for good? Even your Pathologos would know there's only the Logos remains. What would it be like? Imagine, what would it be like to be a soul with no blocks to the Logos, to following the Logos? That's what we do. That's what we do in the dialectic. We follow the Logos. We follow the book. We follow our dreams. As the third hypothesis, we're following the self through the intelligibility and rationality inherent in intelligence. 1, 2, 3. Overcoming our 4th hypothesis, Pathologos, and its associated 5th hypothesis, image thinking, the cause of evil and Satan, 4th and 5th. If our negative activities are the 5th, image thinking, shapes and colors, our opposition to our mind and development, that's evil. What is misunderstood as evil. Its source ain't Satan, it's the 4th, belief. Hate the devil, you hate belief. Isn't that ironic? The people who believe in Satan are very much attached to beliefs. The thing they are calling Satan is beliefs. See the irony? By the way, what does the Oracle always say about challenging a belief you are most identified with? So your idea of the self, first hypothesis, is stuck in fourth hypothesis belief. She says,
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing new boundaries.
she reminds us that by listening to the Oracle, you are brave and crossing into new boundaries. Right, RM?
If you don't know, now you know.
Right, Emma?
The more holes, the better.
Right, Joe Rogan?
I don't want to eat a monkey.
You never want to eat a monkey. But she says,
People don't logic their way into
No.
stupid positions. I'm always good. Personality maxing
we go.
requires you to look in.
okay, here we go, found it.
Personality maxing requires you to look inward on a deeper level, and it's harder to fix because then you have to make fundamental changes to who you are as a person. And it's because it feels like a much more core component of themselves that they don't want to change. Like, it's like, well, then if I change this,
So when our self, first hypothesis, is identified with that belief, it becomes the devil, the source of our problematic image thinking. How does belief function in principle? Whole, part, same, different. It's the lesser that you identify with and you function in opposition to the greater. So that idea of injustice that we suffered in childhood, blocking the child's participation in freedom, rationality, whole, out of time, that is imitated as sadism. That's the root cause of human cruelty and injustice. So, evil is really the fifth hypothesis, image thinking, opposition to the logos. Its source isn't really Satan, it's the fourth hypothesis, belief, preventing us from our ideal functioning third, which allows us to contemplate the intelligible. So third, rationality, contemplating the intelligibility. There's our definition of goodness. While evil or irrationality is in opposition to that, badness, the functioning of belief. And necessarily the dialectic is required to go through the second hypothesis to reach its source, without which you will be like a cow that trips over, you will utterly fail.
dumbass.
Hey. Okay. Of the kinds of false beliefs, we've recognized nihilism, materialism, isms themselves, the Mickey Mouse. Sixth hypothesis, but the seventh hypothesis, a battleground between good and evil. So we're addressing that. So one of the gifts we are getting from Socrates is, by the way, if you do it, if you choose the just option and get into the game of dream analysis, midwifery, and dialectic, when you solve your problems, even the devil, fourth hypothesis, knows that the evil, fifth hypothesis, has been overcome for good. Both are gone, leaving only the good, or the self-logos, to remain. And if the pathologos has been defeated, the opposition to that we call the 10th hypothesis. That's the pathologos, the opposition to the first. Just as the 7th is the opposition to the logos and providence. That's why it's cruel. Freed from the 10th, we are not blocked from the first. So even people who've had a glimpse or even the depth of experience of the second, like Taoists, so all of those gurus of anime characters who have some sort of second hypothesis wisdom experience, they're blocked from becoming the ultimate. That's for Naruto to do, or Luffy to do, or can't remember all of their names. But we can overcome their problem by overcoming the source of problems themselves. So all of those people have a second hypothesis glimpse, the archetype of the drunken sage, or the pervy sage, or the pervy guru, or whatever. So they've overcome their problem. And our gift is to realize that when that happens, it's for good. So, a kind of learning, therefore, that we can take with us, a kind of learning that will affect our psyche or soul in its trajectory, in its movement, in its the way we die, what we experience when we die, and what happens after that, if it remains. Purification. Once again, if it's a kind of learning that benefits us eternally beyond this lifetime, another reason why it's the meaning of life. Pray.
If you don't know, now you know.
And now you know. Good news and bad news. Good news is that weird sausage smell has become a delicious satay smell. Someone was doing a barbecue. Bad news is, I can't eat it. It smells good. I want to eat it. So, making sense of that thing that stuck out as not fitting. If Satan, Pathologos, was defeated and evil itself, our problems, fifth hypothesis and fourth, annihilated, only good exists. Jesus is not following, but that's okay, he's talking to us. The evil of Satan moves across the land, leaving destruction and misery in its wake. So that's an abandonment of the rationality of the dialectic, because we've already gone to a dialectic to show what is the course of the destruction and evil and its wake. Because when religious or conservative or belief-based people gain rulership, conservatives abgluji, because they're bound by belief, they're opposed to understanding. Instead of overcoming their deficits, they level everything. They murder everything, blow everything up. The Trumps and Netanyahus of the world, capitalists of the world. As well. So he's blocked from his, so that would be an example of, on our map, a blind spot or leaving out what we have seen in the logos or dialectic, harming himself. Helpful map? Oops.
You suck. You're ugly. I'm gonna get your ass.
Don't get me.
What the hell's wrong with you people? You sick freaks.
Don't get me, you sick freak. So, and its constant victory over the good give ample proof of his existence. So once again, proving the other part of our map. This conflict within our soul that brings death and destruction through the idea of pseudo-justice or punishing evil used to justify injustice or punishment, gives ample proof of the bad thoughts and actions of evil and Satan's existence. So also accounted for in So we've accounted for what he is forgetting. Can what has been thoroughly defeated continue to exist? So once again reminding us that in our work in midwifery and dream analysis to overcome our pathologos beliefs by addressing the source of our the images that we are carrying from our loved ones that remain there so long as they remain unexamined and unchallenged. If we do the midwifery, they cannot exist. Ever. There you go. So imagine what it'd be like to be able to see the self-logos unfolding and follow it in everything you do at all times. In this lifetime and beyond. What would that be like? As long as the continuous war rages in the soul, it mirrors the cosmic war. Okay, proving that part of the map. The conflict within our soul mirrors the cosmic war, therefore that cosmic war finishes in Armageddon. Destruction of the planet so Jesus comes back and magics everything better. Notice, irrational, unintelligible. But also, kind of reflecting what Socrates says. That means if the war has no longer rages in the soul through the dialectic and midwifery, cosmically, you wouldn't be in conflict. So Socrates is saying reincarnation. Cosmically. Even though Jesus wasn't hitting the mark, there was some truth for us to see. Our soul, that's that principle of likeness, by the way, as above, so below. Analogy, not the axiom, things equal to themselves, that would be different. The principle of likeness through analogy. As above, so below. If evil is only found in man in his thoughts and deeds, why not look for the cause where it springs up, rather than a war between heaven and earth? Therefore, by addressing evil at its source, the bad thoughts, actions, and words from the conflict within our psyche, which allows us to function unintelligible or irrationally, which is caused by our projections or interpretations, projections and blind spots caused by our beliefs that function in opposition to the logos and dialectic, our purpose, having its cause actually in our pathologos beliefs and the images that we are still carrying. Why not address it there, which is the dialectic and dream analysis, and not within some sort of cosmic war between heaven and hell? So not only have we overcome evil and Satan, pathologos and false images, we've overcome war. No need to justify war, whether it be a war against the working class, a war against the countries the capitalists and the imperialists have enslaved, or a war between religious groups. No need for war, just dialectic. You seek to end the war within mankind, and that leaves its source untouched. You're saying, hang on a second. Well, if you've addressed if you put an end to war within mankind, well, what about its source? Well, hang on a second. Didn't you say that was the only evidence for evil? Where will evil play itself out if it finds no home in the soul of mankind? In other words, there's no place for evil to be. Where is it? Doesn't be anymore. Gone. So what would that be like? To no longer be in conflict with the logos and dialectic. Let's keep reading. Oh yeah, you think you're so smart? The truth is silent before the mysteries of man's existence. You can't know the mysteries of man's existence. You can't solve the problems within human souls and therefore overcome Satan, evil, and Armageddon. It's silent. It's a mystery. Hang on a second. That's evil. By his definition, he is adding that catchphrase that he is repeating as an image or a counterattack phrase from his family. He's adding that, and he's leaving out the fact that we have been understanding through the dialectic the mysteries of man's existence, and doing so is our purpose. That's evidence of, well, that is opposition to the logos and dialectic. That is something irrational and unintelligible. That is, by his definition, evil. So here we see an example of the conflict within the soul, or ironically, Jesus is the evil one. Jesus is evil. Tell your friends. Maybe don't. They'll burn you at the stake. Unless they, I mean, I hope you're not friends with those people. So actually do share it with your good friends. So what's our question? If evil has no place within the soul, because we've addressed the conflict of the pathologos that functions to silence the logos, it should remain. Therefore, if you talk to a new person, like Socrates talking to Jesus, and a pathologos conflict or block to the logos is introduced, it shouldn't affect you. What would that look like? Let's read. You can't know, you dummy. Truth is silent before the mysteries of man's existence. He's saying,
Brain rot escalate.
he said you got brain rot.
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
He's saying you're doing mental health
It's sad.
episode.
And I'm sad for you.
And he's sad for Socrates. So what's it like? Socrates responds, our mysteries reveal truth. Yours conceal it with piety. Is Socrates in conflict? Did he listen? Did he go down that tangent or rabbit hole? Did he allow Jesus to play out his sick state of mind and debate him like a debate
weirdo?
Nope. He's not buying into that bullshit. Jesus is in his negative state of mind. All he's been doing is repeating those thought-terminating cliches, those phrases of counterattack. For him to act like there's anything good and worth following in that would be a conflict. Why would you follow something that's bad and wrong? Only if you had a false belief and image that it was good. If someone came along and said you suck, you probably wouldn't care. But if they said you suck in the way that your parents did growing up and you still believe them, it would hurt. It would feel bad. He's not buying it. He has vanquished evil from his soul. And the Logos can answer. Oh, really? The truth is silent? No, it's not. The dialectic, the Logos, reveals truth. Your mysteries are of the pathologos, belief, that conceal it. With the false image and shadow of excellence and justice that you call piety. To be a good Christian, to be a good Jew, to be a good American, to be a good patriot, to be a good whatever the fuck. Bullshit. The standard of good is dialectic. That's the standard. Anything else is an image that you venerated with your idea of piety. Logos is the truth and the way. Pathologos, venerated in personal beliefs, are not. So he can answer it. And as Socrates has told us already, he grew up in that seventh hypothesis, good versus bad, heaven versus hell bullshit. Meaning, he believed it, and his friends were like that. But he did say he learnt the dialectic from Parmenides, going through music, that beautiful girl who talked about that. What's the whole of seeing, hearing, and thinking? Question we can carry to contemplate the intelligible. Reading the stuff from Heraclitus, learning the dialectic, doing dream analysis. He's gone through it, meaning he would have had to have answered a similar negative counterattack catchphrase himself, but he answered it in a way where it's stuck now. Doesn't affect him. Didn't lose his temperance, didn't lose his dialectic wisdom, didn't lose his courage to follow the Logos, didn't lose his justice doing it all times. Remains in the state of self. Jesus responds, your own people don't know the dreadful power of Satan. Again, so it doesn't affect Jesus, but it works for Socrates. Nor his devious nature. His evil is so vast and pervasive that no thought of good nor desire for good could emerge within his nature. Hang on a second. Didn't we agree that God, being in a perfect state, could not coexist with evil? Because he would not be in that state of pervasively good throughout. Nor could he clash without departing from his true nature of goodness. Equally, Satan, to enter into the state of goodness of God without becoming to that very degree good, wouldn't he become good? So mingling or clashing would compromise his nature of being evil. That's a different dialectic. It's a dialectic self-contained in one paragraph, so brilliant and beautiful, but not what we were talking about. We were talking about addressing the conflict within the human soul that Jesus should have become aware of as dream analysis and midwifery, the use of the dialectic, from the whole conversation we've been having the whole day. In other words, Socrates is leading him to the water, but he couldn't drink because he's in his problem. Therefore, that's for us to make the conclusion. Our mysteries reveal truth, yours conceal it with piety. That's the conclusion. You answer. Therefore, to you, the reader. If we address the conflict within the soul, is there any place for evil to exist? If we defeat evil, have we therefore defeated Satan? Which is the personification of that. If something has been thoroughly defeated, does it remain defeated? If it remains defeated and evil is actually any opposition to the logos and dialectic, can it be your way of being forever? You answer that. What would that look like? There's your definition. What's the demonstration? A pathologos counterattack to the logos and dialectic. You can't know the truth. You're too dumb. Socrates saying, yes, we can. Our mysteries of the dialectic reveal truth in principle, as we've done today. Yours conceal it with piety. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like, therefore, to be a soul having vanquished the conflict within, having vanquished the internal conflict that Socrates said he thought he would have to be in his whole life as a child. Let's see that in the book. Before he came across music. He said, I grew up I'm following this question because Providence guides us, following the logos. I grew up thinking, hearing the refrain that life is empty of meaning, all we face is war, death, and dishonor. Seventh hypothesis bullshit. There is a war between heaven and hell. Oh, the very thing we're tackling. Between good and evil, that's unending, eternal. This conflict was not merely between these mighty cosmic forces, but is played out within our very souls. What Jesus just said. Socrates had a similar pathologos, family, cultural, personal belief. All you can do is join the forces over evil, you gain heaven, and the non-believers go to hell. There is no role for meaning or place for meaning in this eternal conflict. There is no escape, so the believers condemn all those who oppose them. I stayed with this early group since there was no meaningful alternatives to me. Then he became interested in music. Then he found that beautiful girl who loved understanding and talked about wondering about the mind itself, or the mind as a whole. Then he came across Heraclitus. Then he found Parmenides and learned the dialectic. Then he could do dream analysis. Meaning, the book is giving us, word for word pretty much, a message that Socrates has addressed his pathologos so that when he comes across someone else who presents that same thought terminating cliche, the same pathologos, empty phrase, counterattack, it doesn't affect him any longer. He's over that conflict. He's vanquished evil and Satan for good. What does it look like? When someone drops one of those bullshit things on your ass, you say, our mysteries reveal truth, the dialectic and self-logos. Yours conceal it with piety, which we can understand as your mysteries of your family or religion is just your pathologos venerated with piety. It's good to be Jew, it's good to be Muslim, it's good to be Christian, it's good to be Mormon because we say it is. And everyone around me when I grew up said it was. So what's our question for today? When we solve our problems, are they solved for good? You answer that by following the dialectic that Jesus wasn't able to follow, answering each of those questions that Jesus tried to dismiss because of his block. And what does it look like? There you go. Imagine that. And what did he do? Jesus says, oh, well, what? Well, you don't know Satan. He's so evil. You don't even get how evil Satan is. He doesn't even have a thought or desire for good, which is again opposed to life itself. We all seek the good. It's just whether or not we believe, have a belief-based image or understanding-based apprehension. Socrates goes right back to the dialectic. Leaving us this one, but meeting Jesus where he's at. By the way, you weren't able to put the pieces together of this one. We were. So we saw that God is actually the self-good, ourselves in our highest way, functioning through the dialectic. Satan isn't real. The source of our problems are our unexamined images. Evil isn't real, it's just our pathologos imitation of virtue or pseudo-excellence. And Armageddon isn't therefore necessary. All that's necessary is to participate and create the conditions within society for dialectic, dream analysis, and midwifery. Jesus didn't follow. He was able to follow that earlier dialectic showing that a warring or Abrahamic God can't exist, because war is unintelligible and unintelligible is evil. God can't be evil. Equally so, Satan can't exist as a warring creature. But this is the one on God here. War can't equal God. Satan, because Satan is unintelligible in principle and irrational. War requires planning. Planning is rational. Satan can't participate in war. But then he goes back to the last thing on the table, Armageddon. In that one paragraph, he said, therefore, Satan can't coexist or clash with God without becoming like God. To be like God is to be participating in goodness, like a dialectician. Satan can't be goodness, therefore, Satan can't clash or coexist with God. Therefore, in principle, Armageddon can't exist. Which again is using that axiom of coincidence. Or things that are equal to themselves. Well, no. This is the axiom of, this is a new axiom. Things that are equal, that are in the same space, coincident, together are the same. And the example is if I had 2 coffee cups and they were in the same space at the same time, it would just be the same coffee cup. Hard to imagine with a physical thing, but if you imagine mind, states of mind. That also means that if we learn to read, where we not just read what's said, but learn about the state of mind of the author, see through his structure, see the structure unfolding in the text, unfolding in the paragraphs, unfolding the dialectics, our mind is becoming like the mind of Socrates or Pierre Grimes, the author of the book. Both of which have mastered the self-logos. So this idea of Armageddon can't exist is the negative, because God would have to coexist in order to clash with Satan and vice versa, and they can't have each other's opposite nature. But for us, by learning to read in this way and mastering these dialectics for ourselves, we are becoming like Socrates, like Pierre Grimes, like master dialecticians, like the Dream Master, like the Self. In other words, Jesus' block didn't block Socrates from going back to the dialectic, meeting Jesus where he was at, and addressing Armageddon. So in this dialectic that happened in one paragraph, Armageddon isn't possible in principle. Our mega dialectic here, which understood that, shows the nature of benefit, how we solve problems, how we reach excellence, the meaning of life as the dialectic, defeating along the way evil Satan, shows that Armageddon is not necessary. So that dialectic that we just went through in the book, that one paragraph, shows it's not possible, and our dialectic shows it's not necessary. But also not possible because who's at war if there is no such thing as Satan and evil? So, can't be an Abrahamic or warring God of the second hypothesis. Seventh hypothesis, that's a kind of ignorance or false belief. There can't be a Satan, can't be real. Evil can't be real. Armageddon can't be possible and isn't necessary. Boom, 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 boom. Hooray.
I would scoop the moon in a cup for you.
And we would scoop the moon in the cup for you to going through this dialectic and having fun with us.
Oh, very handsome and or pretty.
Thank you. Also important to point out. Emma?
I'm too pure.
And Emma's too pure.
Spit on me.
What? Don't seem too pure now, Emma.
Queen of Gooning.
Seems like you're the queen of
Be a
gooning.
reasonable gooner.
And the oracle wants you to be a reasonable gooner, which is actually something talked about in the text. We talked about how our pathologos having expression within our fantasies or gooning or intimate relationships, but participating in philosophical speculation elevates it to our intended purpose. So you can even be contemplating the intelligible and functioning rationally in your words in everything you do, including making love. So, might as well see it in the text, seeing as we mentioned it. It's philosophical speculation. So, from what we've seen, nothing brings greater harm than if one is mistaken about what is true and real. So what we've identified as our false images in pathologos, beliefs about what's real and true. It is not what is done that is significant, but the state of mind that accompanies what is done. So if you drink and make love with a pure mind, says Jesus, that is free of any imposition of false images, which we've now seen is possible for good. That's how Socrates drinks and makes love. That doesn't make it ideal, does it? What can be worse than to entertain thoughts one believes are true and feels justified in acting them out without realizing they're completely mistaken about the truth of what they believe? In other words, hasn't done midwifery yet, or dream analysis. You're right about that, says Socrates. To do what one does with a pure mind must include that the very doing must fit nicely within your highest sense of what is right and being just, the intelligible. Surely it is very likely, and the dialectic, that without that sense of justice in one's acts, the recognition that it is consistent and surely it is likely that without that sense of justice of one's acts and the recognition that it is consistent with your philosophical goals, that one is harboring a false idea about what is real and true. So if you find yourself feeling unjust or feeling like you're not doing your purpose as a dialectician, contemplating self-reality and the dialectic and rationally through the dialectic, then it's a clue about your pathologos that you need to address. It's a win-win because you can take a pause, stop your drinking or whatever lovemaking, and write some notes down or discuss it right then. It's a
Win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
It's a win.
Many believe their fantasy life is their own creation, but they fail to recognize the self-image within the fantasy is a manifestation of that false identification. Character
Personality maxing requires you to look inward on a deeper level, and it's harder to fix because then you have to make fundamental changes to who you are as a person. And it's because it feels like a much more core component of themselves that they don't want to change. Like, it's like, well, then if I change this, who am I?
So once again, the source isn't Satan or evil. The source is a pathologos false image with the self that manifests in our fantasies as well as our dreams and everything. Jesus responds, yes, and if one has been persuaded and encouraged to believe in such an idea of self or reality, then they are doomed to being irrelevant. Yes, you will be what you later go on to say Jesus as evil. Now, I've stressed to those about me to be ignorant about what is real is what real and true is what everyone. Guess who has Discord again? Hooray.
Jester Goon Maxed.
You have been Jester Goon Maxed. Does that thing work? No commands. Oh no. There should be a link below the video or on my homepage or something. Should be a link to Discord somewhere on the page. Let me know if that link still works. There is nothing, so to be, got it, hooray, hooray.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Still works, hooray.
Funny and cool? Hey, leave some for the rest of us, man.
Yes, leave some for the rest of us, sus. To be ignorant about what's real and true, everyone hates and fears. Again, it's the source of our problems. There's nothing more important than to have truth as a companion to one's idea of reality. So, contemplate and rational. The inner connection between what is considered good and the desire for it and the quest is important to see. I call that the inner triad. So there's our triad of we seek the truth. Outwardly, we desire the good for ourselves and its connection towards what is one, or rationality or reason about reality, brings us the one, the true, and the good. So interesting comparison. Mankind imitates creation in his own inner world. As above, so below, we went on to say at the end of the book. However, when it takes on the form of a daydream, sneeze, then, if I may say so, all hell breaks loose. Yes. Ha 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 ha. Isn't that ironic? He's saying all hell breaks loose by allowing our fantasies and our false pathologos beliefs to play out in our fantasies or daydreams. At the end of the book, when he's in his problem, he thinks it's evil and hell and the devil or hell. Isn't that funny? All hell does break loose. Because it's not really hell and the devil and evil. It's the pathologos images that you maintain and sustain through your meditation or dialectic that you're doing anyway. You are always contemplating those images until you go through midwifery and dream analysis. Hang on a second. You know, of course, that many say that your kind of philosophy is nothing other than entering and staying within a realm of fantasy. Here we go. This is what we've been after. The many do, yes, says Socrates, yes. The many do hurl that charge against us. They forget that the difference between fantasy and philosophical speculation. They forget that difference. In fantasy, there is a false image of the self, and its drama has no correspondence with the way to truth of the meditation dialectic of the philosopher. The speculations of philosophy lead to an understanding and experience of the true self, and that does not contain any element of the life and fantasy. The life of fantasy. So our question that we've been addressing today, once we solve problems, are they solved for good? He says yes, earlier in the text. We've got to tie it together. So whether you're drinking or making love, if you are doing it while contemplating the intelligible with reason, or which is the dialectic. If you can do the dialectic whatever you're doing. Now your speculations, you are still using your imagination while drinking or making love with someone. Only it's the use of imagination accompanied with talking. Talk while you drink and make love, of course. Reflecting the truth of what you've been learning about reality, the truth, the good, the real, the true, the one, the self logos. In other words, this meaning of life or purpose that benefits self and others, that solves problems when we notice deviations from it in our fantasies while drinking, lovemaking, or anything we do, reaches excellence, uses those activities to reach excellence, benefit self and others, is our purpose and meaning of life, is something we can do at all times. Notice, you're either doing that or you're doing the opposite. You can't not be in a state of mind. You can't not be contemplating. You can't not be thinking. There is ousia and logos in our nature. The difference is whether we can recognize our problems are doing it not because of evil and Satan within our heart or within the reality or the cosmos, surfacing the pathologos beliefs that take our philosophical speculations or contemplations away from the intelligible and our philosophical reasoning and communication away from the dialectic to our other fantasies and daydreams and bullshit. Take note of that, overcome them, they become objects of reflection for dream analysis and midwifery. And what Socrates says is once they have been defeated, they are defeated for good. All that's left is goodness when you defeat evil. All that's left is to become like the self, like the highest idea of God, the good self, by participating in the dialectic, which is how we participate in goodness at all times. Whether we're in this lifetime or beyond, whether we are drinking or making love or anything. We can be a reasonable gooner.
Some goons and some gooners and some weirdos.
And not be a weirdo about it.
Be a reasonable gooner.
We can be a reasonable gooner, as the Oracle tells us.
Goon.
And you can goon like that.
Goon.
There we go. So much gooning happening. Amazing.
Do a poggers.
So, and when those blocks like, oh, you're not good enough, you can't know the truth, you don't understand Satan, the truth is silent before always gooning homie. Yes, our homie in chat is always gooning. Goon.
I love this guy.
And that's... So, tying that in with our earlier thing, demonstrating the principle that once evil and Satan is defeated, it's gone for good. In our states of mind, in our speculations, in how we relate to ourselves and others, leaving only the good or the dialectic. When Jesus challenged that, we see a demonstration of what it's like when Jesus says, hey, you can't know. The truth is silent before the mysteries of man's existence. Socrates says,
Can't you just engage with anything in a way that's like meaningful ever? It's just boring, I think, is the problem. I'm just bored of it.
And then he says,
Anything for a click, no matter how stupid or demented or misleading.
That's just stupid and demented. No, he answers. He answers with the logos. Now, this also stands out because all the way through the book, he's been asking the questions, guiding the conversation. This is the one time where he just gives a flat out answer because Jesus is demonstrating his pathologos. His evil, his conflict, not evil, conflict. What he would think is evil. Doesn't do it as a question and answer, just says, nope. Just as earlier when Jesus said, in this same conversation at the end, hey, we can never come together. We can never participate in the dialogue. We're always going to be at odds because the difference of our belief. You believe in the wrong God. My family believed in the right God. Very, very cliche pathologo shit. That was the first time Socrates doesn't start with yes and, but no. No, actually, the difference is we've already covered this, Jesus. You're taking your beliefs literally, which means you're in a problem or a barbarian. You have already recognized that these are personifications of the principles that we move through as our soul moves through in our journey from the physical world to the intelligible realm of mind, and through it via the dialectic to the self. All of the things involved in that journey and the principles and causes that we make use of, you can represent as figures. That's what theology is, you idiot. We've already gone through this.
Get the fuck out.
So get the fuck out.
She's a moron. She's a bonked on the head individual, BHI.
I coined that.
She's not a BHI.
Unbelievable sluts these days.
Unbelievable sluts calling everyone a BHI. So, equally, it stood out. And equally, this passage stands out. This is demonstrating what it would be like to be free of conflict. When someone does throw their old bullshit pathologos at you, water off a duck's back, as they say. Quack, quack. That's a chicken. Don't have a duck. Have a flamingo. Water off a flamingo's back, as they say.
Now we're getting into extreme Jordan Peterson levels of whimsy.
Yes, we are. We have little stuffed toys, and we're being very whimsical. So, doesn't get put off. He doesn't abandon what he was saying, recognizes Jesus isn't picking up what he's laying down because he's in his problem. Therefore, goes back to the last thing on the table after we've defeated the Abrahamic God, we've defeated Satan and the idea of evil not being possible, or Satan not being possible. Armageddon. Armageddon can't happen because of that principle of coincidence. They'd have to be on the same level. God wouldn't be good, Satan wouldn't be bad. Can't happen. They can't coexist or clash. Jesus' response: you are very thoughtful in your choice of words. Is it? Or is it just mine following the logos? I do see where your thought carried you. See, this is another tool that someone might be in a problem. That's the interesting thing you did. Only you can do it. There was, Pierre Grimes himself gave a demonstration of philosophical midwifery and dream analysis before a group, the Philosophical Council, or something like, or the American College of Philosophical Practitioners. And he demonstrated this very principle. Someone had a dream, they reflected on it, saw a problem that they'd been carrying that they could never have guessed they'd been carrying, used their dream to reflect on it, free themselves from that problem, and actually get re-experience through reflecting on that high experience in a dream, a higher experience. So addressing the false and participating in a higher state. Afterwards, the person who claimed to be in charge, even though Pierre should have been in charge, said, oh, that's fantastic. Only you could be able to do such a thing. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's not you. It's not Socrates. It's the logos. It's intelligibility and rationality unfolding itself. But notice how Jesus is trying to pack it into a pack. Oh no, that's just you. Only you could say that. Bollocks. To that we say,
oh my fuck.
Oh my fuck.
Okay, that sounds stupid.
That sounds stupid.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
Oh my God, Emma, stop being a gooner.
You can be a gooner.
Okay, don't stop. You can be a gooner. Very thoughtful with your choice of words. Was it? Did it unfold? I do see where your thought carried you. Was it his or was it thought itself? See, this is the sick idea of philosophy. Philosophy isn't one thing among many. There aren't many philosophies. There's just one. Philosophy is just thinking. It's making use of our capacity for self-reflection and language. Well, it's just thinking rationally by removing or purifying what we are carrying that blocks that participation in self, mind, and reason. 1, 2, 3. Not a personal thing. You would say each would be in totally different states, God and Satan. Correct. Having different natures. Yep. And so no battle could occur between them. He got it. He wasn't able to follow that big dialectic giving us that map that we did today. For those of you who were able to follow along, congratulations. You could put this on your fridge. Demonstrating the meaning of life for yourself, how to benefit others, how to solve problems, how to reach excellence, and in the same time defeating Satan, evil, and the necessity for Armageddon. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win. Jesus couldn't do that, but he did go back to following this quick dialectic here on the Armageddon, which is on the board. So at least he walked away with 3. He walked away with the dialectic about Abrahamic God can't exist because he can't be at war because that's intelligible or unintelligible or evil. Satan can't exist because he's by definition unintelligible and irrational, and planning for a war requires reason and intelligibility, so he can't participate in war. And then the 4th one, Satan can't coexist or clash with God because he would become like it. That's the axiom of coincidence. Things that are the same or occupying the same space become the same as each other in their nature. And what did he say? States of mind and natures, not physical. These are beings. So those are the 3 Jesus got, and we have that a magical 4th one that actually shows the true nature of those things. So those 3 just show that they're not possible. What we were able to do by following what Jesus wasn't able to pick because we weren't in our block state, thank goodness. We can have those 3 showing that Abrahamic God, Satan, and Armageddon can't exist in principle. We also understood what is the nature of human problems. How do you solve them? How do you reach your highest excellence and become like God, or become the God or the good self yourself? Why Satan and evil can't, what is the alternative to them to understand our problems, and why Armageddon isn't even necessary, and what our purpose is. So we learned a lot more in our one that Jesus was able to miss. So maybe in doing the sequel to this book, Socrates and Jesus, a midwife or dream talk in heaven, you're able to address the cause of Jesus's blocks to this dialectic, and at the end of the book, you could run through this dialectic that was hinted at in this conclusion of this book, and maybe have Jesus come along because he has been freed enough from his evil and Satan, his pathologos blocks to the dialectic, and he was able to come along and do this map. This could be the conclusion of the sequel that you write. If you want to play. Did I mention this book's a fucking banger? How many other books leave you with the sequel to write and leave you with the tools needed to do so? And demonstrate that in doing so, you are going to become like the highest idea of God, the good self. How many books give you a method to reach the highest state of not just being, but transcending being? How many books give you the instruction and the methodology to become God by asking you to do the sequel? How many books give you the tools to address what would prevent you or make it difficult to do that along the way? Did I mention this book's a fucking banger? Amazing. Isn't it amazing? Is that mind-blowing? How many books give you the method to be God and address the problems along the way? Potentially. And giving you the framework. Just go back to this dialectic in the end, after everything you learn and what it took for you to go through dream analysis and midwifery. Remember it, reflect on it, make Jesus go through it so he can pick up this dialectic he wasn't able to pick up. So, They are each, Satan and God would be different natures in different states, totally different states, having different natures, and so no battle could occur between them. So with a stroke of reasoning, you would banish the thought of the coming Armageddon. Worth doing? Needed for every soul? Needed for our species? Is it worth banishing the upcoming Armageddon? That the capitalists, conservatives, and clergy are rushing towards? So, he is seeing, he did come to a conclusion, he is trying to mitigate it by saying, oh, you did it. No, it's just the truth. How does Socrates respond? Yes. So he's going back to yes and. Jesus is likely, therefore, out of his pathologo state, or a little bit, and he's doing something good in spite of it. Yes, that is where reason bids me to go. With her, I follow the Logos. See? He's saying, no, it's not me doing it, pal. Reason has been leading. I'm just following the Logos. Therefore, we got a demonstration of what it's like to be free of our problems, the way Socrates answered the counterattack, Logos defeating catchphrase. We also got a demonstration of what it's like to be, so that's what it's like to be removed of problems. What does that allow you to do? Only good remains. That's the dialectic. What's it like? Do we get a demonstration of what it's like to be in the dialectic? Reason go where reason bids, and with her. So there's a question for us. Why is reason feminine, female? With her, I follow the Logos. So we got a definition of what it's like to be free of problems or conflict. We got a demonstration of that, the way Socrates answered Jesus in that weird way that stood out. We, having been freed from our evil and Satan, we are left with God and goodness, the dialectic. We've got a definition of our purpose, our functioning, which we can do even while drinking or while making love. By definition, it's the dialectic, philosophical speculation or in contemplation and reasoning, dialectic. And we got a demonstration of what that feels like. It's following where reason bids and with going with her, following the Logos. Therefore, as you practice the dialectic, having an understanding of why it's worth doing, why it's your purpose, you can therefore try it out. It's not just reasoning, it's proof in experience. And as you practice being a dialectician at all times, you can use this strange poetic language of what it feels like to recognize the state of mind as you do the thing. So another gift from Pierre Grimes and Socrates. Not only our purpose, the dialectic, but what it feels like. Following reason, going with her, going where reason bids, and with her, with reason, following the Logos. Amazing. So carry that in your back pocket as you practice the dialectic, and you might catch yourself in that flow state we called earlier, justice, doing your intended function at all times. Being in the zone, the ideal of the samurai. It's what it feels like, apparently. Up to you. Success. So that's a nice ending point. So we've still got a couple of pages to go, but that was a banger episode again today. Another one. Oh my goodness, today was fire. Today was a fire, bang another one. Interesting. Did you have fun? Can you replicate that map? Can you share it with a friend over coffee? Whoops. Spilled some coffee. And can you keep an eye open for that state of mind you might be in, which is like God or goodness or the self. Going where reason bids, and with her following as you follow the logos. So, going where reason bids you to go, and with her following the logos. It's not something you have to be good enough for or adequate for. Just following the logos. Going along with her reason. Sound fun? Well, the link to the Discord apparently works, so if you are having fun, you can join the Discord and find friends to talk about as you do that. There, you can donate to the channel if you like and have the means. You can find a copy of the text below. You can follow along on Twitch. And, yeah, have fun with it. Have Jordan Peterson levels of whimsy.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder?
Yeah, right. It's right here.
I would scoop the moon in a cup for you.
And if you are having fun, then we would also scoop the moon in the cup.
I guess.
This is why I love this channel, man.
And we have fun, and we love this channel. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. And then the music. And then join Discord. And then donate to the channel. And then join Twitch. It worked. See you then.